Alright guys, welcome to this video. Today I'll be walking you guys through everything you should do before you accept your first client. Things such as opening your LLC, getting your EIN, opening a business bank account, whether you have contracts in place, and anything else that involves business in general. So let's get started. So we'll talk about the legal, financial, and operational steps to protect yourself. You want to look professional, you want to have a brand, you really want to back yourself up. So let's just walk through it. So let's first talk about forming an LLC. Now you might ask yourself, what even is an LLC? An LLC stands for Limited Liability Company, and I'm going to explain exactly what that is. So is a business structure, an LLC is a business structure that creates a legal wall between you and your business. So if a client sues you or your business incurs debt, only the business assets are at risk, not your personal savings, home, or belongings. So let me just explain what this means. So basically, this is just a simple explanation that anything that has to do with the business is apart from you. It's separating you from the business. So you're X person, you're Jordan, and the business is Jordan's Gardening LLC, okay? So if you were to get sued, only the things that are under the LLC can be taken away or can be sued, okay? So anything that is within the business. So if you have a house under your name, it cannot be taken away from you. If you have a vehicle, if you have, I don't know, maybe certain assets that, you would be able to get taken away if you didn't have this LLC. So basically it's just a wall. It's a protection. Okay. Now, how will you form one? Well, the first thing you want to do is pick a name. You want to have a business name, and you want to make sure that that name is not taken. It's not being used by someone else. So after you're just going to check. You can look up LLC entity name search or something, and you can just look up to see if the name that you're looking for is available or not. If it does come up, that means someone else took it. You're going to have to pick another name. If not, you're more than able to use that name. So you want to file articles of organization. That's basically just forming your LLC. You just want to go through your state website. You can get help from someone else. You can do this yourself. I recommend doing it yourself. If you are pretty tech savvy and know how to use ChatGPT or Claude or anything like that, it's pretty simple. It's a pretty simple process. But anyways, let's continue here. So you're going to pay the state filing fee. For me in the state of Pennsylvania, it was $125. It changes. Now it's going to also, you're going to have to designate a registered agent. Basically, that's just like an address. And a registered agent is basically an address that represents your business, like your office. You can't use a PO box, at least in the state of Pennsylvania. You can hire a company for this, or you can just put your own address. It really doesn't matter. I just put my own address. Create an operating agreement. This is just basically an agreement of, let's say this is very important, especially if there's multiple people. So if multiple people in the LLC. So if this is like you and your brother, basically this just outlines the terms. If someone wants to leave the business, if someone what percentage of profit or ownership of the LLC is being used by, each member. So basically that's just an agreement that just talks about like the operations and how everything's going to work. What it costs, so the state filing fee can be from $50 to $500 depending on your state. The registered agent could be $100 to $300. If you do it yourself, it's free. If you create an operating agreement yourself, you can find a template. It's free. Now, if you want an operating agreement by a professional operating agreement, it could cost from $300 to $1,000 and even more. It all depends what state you're in. Now, common mistakes that people do is they mix their personal finances and their business finances. And this can literally destroy your LLC. So if you have an LLC and you're doing these things, your LLC is basically worthless. There's nothing that your LLC is doing because you are not protecting your assets because you're mixing things. It's commingling funds. This really happens a lot with people using, for example, they're using their business credit card and they're buying personal things like groceries and stuff like that, and that really is really bad for the LLC. All right, let's get into the next step. Getting your EIN. This stands for Employer Identification Number. It's basically a social security number for your business. So if you want to open a credit card, you can use your EIN. Business bank account, you're going to need an EIN. A lot of vendors, you're going to need an EIN. If you have employees, that is the thing that goes on the 1099 that you're giving. Well, if your 1099 contractors, your EIN is basically like a social security number that you're using for your business. So I just explained what it is. How to get one, you go to the IRS .gov website, you apply for an EIN, you just complete your information, you put your information in, your name, your address, all that stuff, and you'll get an EIN at the end. So it'll just be like a PDF that you can download, and with that PDF, it'll just have that number. You want to keep that letter. You're going to need it. That's one of the most important numbers that you need to save. You can lose anything else, but you cannot lose your EIN. If not, you're going to have to request a new one. So here it is, filing your tax returns, opening a business bank account. Like I said, I went all over that. So now, after we have our LLC, we have our EIN. Third step, we want to open a business bank account. Now, you might ask yourself, why should I open this? I already have a bank account. Well, basically, a business bank account is what's going to help you protect your LLC. What do I mean by protect your LLC? It's going to help you be able to separate your business expenses and your business payments to separate it from your personal. Okay, so you're going to need a separate account. Can make everything easier. You can see exactly what was used for the business, and anything that is personal is just using your personal business credit card. Sorry, you're using your personal credit card for your personal stuff. You can open one once you have your EIN confirmation letter. So once you have that number, once your LLC is accepted, it can take up to a week to get accepted, a couple days maybe. You can pay for it to happen faster, at least in the state of Pennsylvania. You need your operating agreement. Some banks require it, some don't. An initial deposit, basically just $25 to $100. I used Wells Fargo, and I had to put a $25 deposit. Not a big deal. So what you want to do is you want to look for an account that has no monthly fees or low minimum balance requirements. You know, it's $10, $11, even $12 if you don't have the minimum balance. Not a big deal, but if you're able to find a bank that doesn't make you pay a monthly maintenance fee or a monthly fee just because you don't have the minimum balance, you can save yourself up to $120 a year. All right, you want to have a simple contract. Now, why do you need a contract? Well, whenever you're doing business, a contract is basically what protects you and protects the client as well. So your scope of services. So basically on the contract, you can include things like what you're doing for them, when they need to pay you, if they want to cancel or back out, how long do they have, can they back out, how long it's going to take. So, the scope, the time that you're going to take, 48 hours, and it just protects both sides. It shows that you're serious, and it's just a way to protect yourself. It limits your responsibility for injury, late payment policy. It's optional. These are optional things you can add into your contract, which is just, if you're taking pictures of people. I run a music teaching business, and I have this in my contract where they're giving me permission to use the pictures that I take of them learning a song or videos, and I upload them. It just gives me permission, protects me from, having any issues. This is not really a reason for someone to sue you. Could happen depending on the line of business you're in, but anyways, this is just to protect myself and just set expectations with what I like to do, which is take pictures and upload it. Anyways, let's move on. How do you handle signatures? You need someone to sign this. You can do this in paper, or you can use different online services such as HelloSign. I use DocuSign. I used to before I switched to Go High Level. And you can use PandaDoc. I've used Dropbox Sign. It's really good. It can get I pay for the annual plan. I paid that before I got into Go High Level, so that's a whole different story. Anyways, now when it comes to taking payments, you want to make sure that you open your business bank accounts. Why? The third step is very important because now this also has to do. So when you're taking payments, you can accept a bank transfer, card payments. That's what I do a lot. Venmo or Zelle. But you want to make sure that the Zelle is connected to the business bank account, because if you start accepting payments through your personal account, this could be an issue down the road. So you want to make sure that you're only taking payments and everything is landing in your business bank account. That way you know how much came in, how much went out, and you're able to keep track of all your income and expenses. What belongs on an invoice? If you're sending out invoices, you want to have, your basic details like the name of your business, the address. You don't have to have the EIN. That's optional. I really wouldn't recommend that. It's not beneficial or important in any type of way. You want to have the client name. You want to have the invoice number. That way you can refer back to it if you need to. the service description, the amount due, accepted payment methods, and late fee policy. You can add that in the bottom. What you basically want to have on there is just the client for your business information, the client information, and you want to have what you're charging them for. It's just itemized things. So for example, I'm charging you $20 for the logo. If you're running a marketing agency, I'm charging you, it's just examples of what you're charging them. You can use Wave. I use Square a lot. Sorry, not Square. I use Stripe, but you can use Square. There's QuickBooks and FreshBooks. All right, insurance. This is just important to have. Sometimes it's not obligated to have, but it's really important that you have some general liability insurance. It just prevents you from getting, like, if you do get sued and you do lose, it is your fault. General liability just covers you from any accident, injuries, property damage. So for example, if a student trips in your studio or a student injures themselves, this covers you. That's in my case. Now, there is a higher insurance and more expensive that protects you more and covers more, but I'm not going to get into that. Depending what business you're in, especially if you're a contractor, and a lot of businesses, you will need some business license or permit from, just your locals, your borough, the state, depending what you're doing, where you're doing it, wherever you're doing business. It's really important to make sure you're doing everything by the book. And if you're working with minors, this is very important. You want to make sure you have background checks. You want to have policies, consent forms, and just anything that has to do with minors in the country of United States is very delicate. So you want to make sure you're protecting yourself from that. So this is just a checklist that you want to follow through before accepting your first client, before even starting your business. So you want to have your LLC formed. You want to obtain your EIN from the IRS. You want to have your business bank account open. You want to have a contract drafted and reviewed, anything with, like I went over, just policy, your late payment, anything that has to do with your policies. You want to have an invoice system. How will you accept payments? Insurance, if it's necessary, but I highly recommend it, at least general liability. Any permits that you may need depending on your business. You want to have your W-9 form ready to send. So this is just important for anybody that's paying you. This is for tax purposes. You want to keep a way of bookkeeping, just keeping track of your expenses. You can do this on a Google Sheet. I personally use QuickBooks. It just takes all my transactions, puts it in one place where I just categorize it, makes it easy for me. And you want to set aside your tax savings. Remember, you want to save 25 to 30%. I'm not a tax professional, so anything that I say, you want to really check with a CPA or the person that does your taxes, make sure they're certified. And anyways, that is everything for today's video. If this video was informative to you, if it was helpful, I want you to just leave a like, subscribe, and stay tuned. I'm going to be making videos of my own journey. I own 3 different businesses. I own a music teaching business. I run a party rental business, and I have a marketing agency. So all these 3 businesses, I've learned a lot, and over the years, there's been a couple things that I've picked up. So yeah, guys, stay tuned for more videos, and I hope this video was helpful for you guys.